Hello everyone, and welcome to History 2020, United States History since 1865 for the spring 2017 semester. This is a course introduction video, and it accompanies a PowerPoint presentation that is posted in the same area as the video itself. That is in the Start Here section and in the Week 1 course materials. So if we move to slide 2, you can see the course instructor information. That is me. My name is Seth Epstein. I'm the instructor for this course. I received a BA in History from the University of Arizona and a PhD in History from the University of Minnesota. My dissertation was a study of urban tolerance in Asheville, North Carolina, between the late 19th century and mid-20th century. This is the spring semester of my 4th year at UTC and the 3rd semester teaching American history online. I also teach the Modern World History Survey, as well as upper division topical courses in American history, such as immigration and ethnicity and historical memory. I am really looking forward to the semester. While I'm going to discuss some of the important parts of the syllabus in this introduction, you should still read the syllabus carefully and let me know if you have any questions. My contact information is available on the second slide of the PowerPoint, as well as in the syllabus. Email is the best way to get in touch with me. It is much more reliable than the office phone, and as I am not sure that I get all my messages from the phone. So I want to stress that email is the preferred method of contacting me, and I will get back to you within 24 hours when you email me at seth-epstein@utc.edu. I also want to provide my office and my office hours. Those again are also on slide 2. I am in Brock 303. And my office hours are from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. One of the things that I want to stress right off the bat is that this is not an independent study course where you go at your own speed and complete assignments when you want. Instead, there are due dates for weekly quizzes and written responses to question prompts. There are also 3 essays, each with specific due dates, that I will talk about later in this introduction. Each essay also is accompanied by another video introduction where I talk more in depth about the assignment. All times I mention in this introduction and all times listed for the course are in Eastern Standard Time. And there are late penalties for quizzes turned in late, for weekly responses turned in late, and for essays turned in late. And those penalties are in the syllabus. If we move now to slide 3, I wanted to take the opportunity to say a little bit about the main theme of the course. The main theme is freedom. Freedom has been central to the American political vocabulary and identity. However, as historian Daniel Rogers has noted, at least a, quote, dozen incompatible notions of the word freedom have competed for legitimacy over the years. Because the concept of freedom has meant different things in different historical periods, it is a particularly useful tool for examining American history. Furthermore, even within a particular historical period, such as the Gilded Age or the Progressive Era, there has never been one universally accepted definition of freedom. And our textbook, Eric Foner's Give Me Liberty, makes that clear. Freedom provided the language and justification for actions taken during different historical episodes, such as the New Deal's response to the Great Depression, as well as both world wars. This main theme is reflected in both the primary and secondary source readings each week. Primary sources are documents created at the times of the events they are discussing. Newspaper articles are classic examples of primary sources. So, for instance, we will be reading a debate in a magazine from the 1920s on the merits of buying on credit. This is a primary source because it is discussing a development happening at the time the document was written. Such a document helps us understand how people at the time thought about the subject. Our primary documents can be found for each week in the Weekly Course Materials section. A secondary source, in contrast, is a scholarly interpretation of primary documents written at a later date. Our textbook, Eric Foner's Give Me Liberty, is an example of a secondary source. If we move on now to slide 4, you can see some of the assignments listed. Reading and discussing the textbook and documents on a weekly basis will help prepare you for the writing assignments. There are required weekly multiple choice and true-false quizzes for each chapter. The quiz for the first week is a quiz on the syllabus. Once completed, you will receive 20 points for it. In addition, the lowest quiz grade at the end of the semester will be dropped. Each quiz has 20 questions and a 30-minute time limit. In addition, you can take each quiz twice. I did this in case there are any technical problems with your first quiz attempt. You will not be able to see which questions you missed until after the quiz deadline. For each weekly quiz, the deadline is Friday at 11:59 p.m. Another requirement for nearly every week is posting answers to questions on the class discussion board. For nearly every week, I have posted multiple question prompts. I would recommend reading these prompts before you read the chapter and the primary documents. That way, when you are reading the chapter, you can think about which of the question prompts you want to answer and take notes on information you think would be relevant to answering a particular question. You will post an answer to one prompt by Saturday at 11:59 p.m. For more information, please see the prompt and response guidelines and sample listed in the weekly course materials for week 1. If we move on now to slide 5 in the PowerPoint presentation, you can see that for this week, the requirement is to post an introduction where you tell everyone a little about yourself and what you think about when you think about freedom and American history and culture. You can find the link to the weekly discussion boards on the left-hand side of the course website. It is titled Weekly Discussion Board. You will have to create a thread to post. Moving on to slide 6, I provide a little more information regarding the essay assignments. The written assignments also reflect the main idea, the main theme of the course. There are 3 written assignments. The first assignment asks you to do something central to a historian's job, to read and assess the value of primary sources. The first longer written assignment is to read and write about the 1911 Triangle Shirtwaist Fire in New York City. Your paper will be based on the sources in Joanne E. Argersinger's The Triangle Fire, A Brief History with Documents. Part 1 of this book provides historical context and narrative. Part 2 is a collection of primary sources. The assignment asks you to select 2 primary sources from this collection and make an argument about what insight into a particular historical topic those sources provide. I have identified potential topics to help you narrow and focus your paper so that it makes an argument about what the documents tell us about this particular topic. You should post what sources you have chosen and how you feel they contribute to understanding a topic by Saturday, February 11th. You are not graded on this, but you will get feedback on it, on that portion of the assignment, this preparatory stage in which you post which documents you are planning to write about. You should submit the paper online by Saturday, February 18th at 11:59 p.m. Moving on to slide 7, we have information there about the second major writing assignment. It is a paper that analyzes a combination memoir and manifesto by Robert F. Williams. Williams was a civil rights activist in North Carolina in the 1950s and 1960s. After a very public and very tense period of protest and resistance, he was falsely charged with kidnapping. He fled first to Canada and then Cuba. His book is especially valuable for a couple reasons. First, it illustrates how the Cold War impacted civil rights. Second, it illustrates some of the debates between civil rights activists over strategies of self-defense and non-violence. Historical narratives of the civil rights movement usually describe impatience with nonviolence and a focus on economic inequality as being characteristics of the late 1960s. But as this short book demonstrates, those themes were present throughout the Black freedom movement. You will be asked to respond to one of at least 2 question prompts in an essay. This assignment is due by 11:59 p.m. on Sunday, April 9th. Moving on to slide 8. The last written assignment asks you to find either a commercial or advertisement, a song or a music video, or a political statement or political cartoon of your choice that utilizes some meaning of freedom. This source you find should also be produced since 1980. It is not so much that you are looking for a statement about freedom, but rather something that uses some meaning or meanings of freedom in its argument. You will write a paper that first identifies these explicit or implicit definitions of freedom, and secondly, places these definitions within the longer history of American ideas of freedom by drawing comparisons and identifying similarities. The work we do prior to this assignment will help prepare you to write this paper. The textbook takes freedom as a central theme in American history, and our supplemental readings also provide examples of how people at particular times in history were thinking about and seeking to use ideas of freedom. I have posted an example of a paper using a different interpretive frame to give you a sense of what the paper should do. By the end of Thursday, April 20th, please post a description of your source as well as how you feel it expresses and uses ideas of freedom. You will get feedback about this posting. The paper is due by Tuesday, April 25th at 11:59 p.m. There is no separate final exam for the class. Moving on to slide 9. Slide 9 provides some information about the expected format of these 3 written assignments. Each of these 3 assignments will be submitted online through the course website's Paper Assignments Submissions section. They can be uploaded in a variety of formats, including Word or PDF files. It is your responsibility to check to make sure that the file is uploaded correctly. If it is not uploaded correctly, it will be considered late. In addition, while the papers vary somewhat in terms of length, each paper should be double-spaced, have 1-inch margins on the sides, top, and bottom, and should be in 12-point Times New Roman font. There should also be a separate title page for each paper. Papers should use formal writing style and should use Chicago-style format, including footnotes and bibliography. In the Assignments and Citation Descriptions section, there is a Chicago-style citation guide, which explains the footnote and bibliographic format, provides links and resources for the citation format, and has examples of many of the class sources you will be using. The Assignment and Citation Descriptions folder also has an example of a paper written in Chicago-style citation format. And the example I provide, for instance, for Assignment 3, the example paper for Assignment 3 is also written in Chicago-style format. So that is also another good source to look at. You get a sense of what the footnotes and bibliography look like. Slide 10 provides some additional information, including information about our optional weekly chats. These are not required, but you may find it useful to have an opportunity to chat with me. While you can always email me, for about an hour each week, I will be in front of my computer ready to answer your questions. Furthermore, if you have a question, other people very likely have the same question. We will be using the Zoom meeting software for these chats, and on the PowerPoint slide, you can see that there is a link that takes you to the Walker Center webpage for information on Zoom. So what happens is that I will send out a notification reminding people about the chat, letting them know that it is now live. These chats will take place between 7 and 8 p.m. on Wednesday evenings. If you are not close to campus and that time does not work for you and you want to chat, I mean, of course you can always email, but if you wanted to chat, then you can let me know and we can work out a separate time to do so. I have posted additional material for each week as well in the weekly course materials. This includes a PowerPoint overview, which has slides, audio, and text of the weekly historical topic and themes. I would recommend you review these introductory materials prior to looking at the weekly question prompts and reading the material itself. Finally, slide 11 contains some information about civility. We do not meet face-to-face, but I hope that we treat one another as though we do. I aim to treat everyone with respect in my responses to your questions, during our chats, and in my feedback on your written work. When you email me, please include a greeting and please sign your name. I will do the same. If you choose to respond to colleagues' posts, please do so respectfully. It is often helpful to offer a different perspective, but it can also be useful to point out some areas of common agreement. I hope this has been a helpful introductory video. Please feel free to email me if you have additional questions. Thank you, and I look forward to the semester.